Linny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 94 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
Well, it's still January, and we are talking about habits and goals and going into the new year.
Okay. I'm going to say you have lots of goals.
I do.
Okay. And you've already been thinking about them.
I wanted to spend some quality time and try to create an implementation plan for a system of habits in the way that Atomic Habits by James Clear describes.
Okay.
So that's what I have done. I will say, first of all, I want to just quote his description of habit and atomic, because I think these are really fundamental to the whole book. So a habit is a routine or practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. Atomic, the definition is 1, an extremely small amount of a thing, the single irreducible unit of a larger system, or 2, the source of immense energy or power. And I especially like that definition of atomic because in some ways he is talking about and using atomic in both senses of the meaning of that word. As I was reading this book, I was curious, in your graduate education in counseling, did you guys have much on habits?
I'm going to say it's more a focus on goals.
Okay.
So maybe the language is a little bit different, but I appreciated him incorporating psychology into the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's key components of like support systems and who do you want to be and surrounding yourself with people that are like how you want to be. I think one of the misnomers about counseling and therapy is this issue of change.
Okay.
Change is extremely hard work. Every therapist and client has goals as part of a treatment plan of the changes. So maybe it's said a little bit differently, but it is absolutely a part of training. Why people are going to therapy is because something isn't working for them. So something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite part or aspect of the book is that kind of flavor that comes out.
And I think James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, would say goals are the big thing you want to achieve, and habits are the mechanism that you use in order to reach that goal.
Right. So in therapy, we have goals and then we have what's called objectives or short-term goals where it chunks it up to be smaller, more of habit or more of the changes or learning or adding or deleting. It crumbles that down into more manageable pieces. Like if it's changing identity, because he talks a lot about that, or building a support system. What does that look like? What are the steps needed to do that?
In Atomic Habits, he talks about how habits, if they have these 4 characteristics of being obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, then that makes change easier. It makes reaching goals easier. It makes being able to embrace new identities easier. He says changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits, you'll end up with the same results, but with better habits, anything is possible.
Love it. Because it really makes you responsible for your life and it gives you ownership into how you want your life to be because it really is your life to live. I need to be reminded, I guess, of that sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do see life that way. Like, it is your life and you live in America. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to determine lots of things in this country of how you want your life to be. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not happy, then time to make a change and think about these small changes that you can make that end up being huge wins for you. I can see how the decisions that I made when I was younger and the sacrifices, how that's helped me now, looking back on a whole long life of decades, how that's helped play out to the person that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
What you read there is a big part of sort of the bigger picture of change is possible. You can do it. And then I'm going to give you the tools to figure out how to make that happen for you. But I'm really interested in hearing about what work you've done on this so far. It does not surprise me that you've put together a plan in place.
Okay, so I have come up with 4 identity statements and then 6 habits I want to incorporate into 2025.
Wow. Are you interested in sharing any of them?
I will share all of them with you.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I started kind of writing down some things that I already do, identities I already feel like I have. And I thought, no, this is really about kind of newer or deeper identities. This is about new habits, not talking about habits that are already very ingrained into my life.
Right.
The first identity I want to go deeper into is I'm a kind person.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Second one, I'm a good teammate and opponent. And I'm thinking about tennis specifically here.
Ooh, okay.
Third, I'm a strong person. Fourth, I'm a consistently creative writer.
Good. I mean, I think you've talked about some of those things on the podcast, and obviously I know you off the podcast too. So I know some of those are goals or areas where you would like to see some growth. So very good, Nance. Wow.
Okay, so first of all, he says, figure out identities that you want to embrace more.
Right.
If you think of who you are, what do you want to be able to say about yourself? So that's kind of a first step. And then he talks about the value of being very specific in defining the habit. So when X happens, I will do Y.
Oh, yeah. There is that whole thing on that. I forgot about that. So, did you come up with any of those statements?
I did. I came up with 6 statements. I have, first of all, like a verb category, and then I define it. So my first statement is pray. And this relates to almost all of the identities that I want to more deeply inhabit, because for me, connection with God is very important to be able to look at the world through holy eyes.
Okay.
So my XY statement is every morning, as soon as I wake up, I will pray for the awareness and ability to be a kind person.
Oh, I love that.
My second habit is around meditation, which also it is being in God's presence. So instead of like, oh, well, when I get around to it in the morning, I'll meditate. No, there's no reason why. Every morning I will meditate for 2 minutes.
Okay.
My next one has to do with writing. It is, I will write for 1 hour every afternoon after lunch. And so this is good for a couple reasons. One is I don't always eat lunch, and I just need to have something for lunch, because otherwise I hit mid-afternoon and I get very tired.
Right.
So this will be after lunch, I write.
Well, you're making it easy. So then it's just the quick walk upstairs to my studio.
Well, exactly. And then I did put rituals with everything, because he talks about the importance of ritual. So number 4 is exercise. And here I'm really thinking about being a physically strong person. I have been doing weight training for about a year pretty consistently, but I thought I would like to reinforce this. It's been a pretty good habit for me, but I just wanted to continue to focus on this. So I will weight train 3 times a week after tennis, or, and this is important, at 10 a.m. on non-tennis mornings. Because what I tended to do is just never get to it. And suddenly it's 5 o'clock. Then I really feel like I don't want to go to the fitness center. I usually go, but it just ends up making the evening a little more stressful than it needs to be. Then number 5 is a mindset habit that I want to develop for tennis. I will remind myself to relax before tennis matches and find joy in honing my game by, after every point, having the mantra of joy.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. I'm going to try that tonight. I got a match.
Okay. Well, I'm anxious to hear how you make out with joy.
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 I hope joy means, look, I'm just enjoying this.
Yeah.
I don't have $15 million of winnings on the line.
No.
I'm enjoying being able to move my body. I'm enjoying having more repetitions and therefore eventually getting better at tennis. The whole thing, if I can find the joy.
I like it. I like it that it's short and simple and it addresses your goal.
I think that it is also that kind of reset that Larry Widman talked with us about, that it helps me reset. I'm moving on from whatever happened in that last point, for good or for bad. And I'm just saying, this is about joy.
I still say reset to myself in pickleball.
That's good.
But I think the goal of being a good player and a good team member is also tied into joy, because if you can maintain a positive attitude, then you will play better, you will be a better team player, and you will have more fun playing tennis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then my final one is sleep. I will have a regular sleep schedule with lights out at 11 every night and waking up at 7.
Oh, okay.
I really struggle with sleep. And part of what they say you need to do is good sleep hygiene. And one of those is having a regular time you go to bed and wake up.
Wow. Your goal of having a more regular bedtime will lead to what?
That will help me, I think, with all of the things, because when I'm tired, I feel like I am not as creative as a writer. I feel like I am a weaker person. I feel like I can be kind of grumpy, so I'm not a good teammate or opponent. And I feel like I'm not a very kind person.
Yeah. Okay.
And then for all of those, I thought, well, then what is the ritual? And so he specifically talks about if you can create rituals that take less than 2 minutes, especially if you're afraid you're going to procrastinate, figure out what that ritual is. And I like that idea, because I wouldn't say that I'm a procrastinator, but I think some of these things that I've set for myself are hard to do without having a trigger to spark them.
Right.
So what is the trigger to spark them? So for praying, it's easy. I'm waking up. For meditation, I am sitting up in bed and I'm using my Healthy Minds app. So I'm just turning on the app. I just sit up and I turn on my Healthy Minds app and away I go. For writing, it is that I do my little routine of just doing crazy writing for 5 minutes. And then I just open up the Word doc that I am working on. My ritual is I just have to open it up. That's it. For exercise, it is that I have exercise clothes on by 9:45. If I want to be to the fitness center by 10, I better have those clothes on by 9:45. For my tennis relaxation and resetting, breathing deeply and saying my mantra after every point.
Yeah, I think that'll work easily.
And then for sleep, start to get ready for bed by 10:30. And if I just think, oh, at 10:30, I need to start getting ready for bed, then the chances that I will be lights out by 11 increase exponentially.
Right.
So that's what I've come up with. And then I started thinking about, what of these do I need rewards for? For my weightlifting, I have incorporated over the last year, my little reward is I get a chocolate protein shake, because one, it actually is really good for muscle recovery to drink a protein shake. I don't allow myself to drink them any other time except for when I've come home from the fitness center and have been lifting weights. So that's a nice reward for me. For the other ones, I'm not sure what kind of reward, if any, I'm going to build in.
The work that you've done is amazing on this. Nance, you're blowing me away a little bit.
The idea that we do get to create our identity, and our identity is based on who we are. Who we are is based on what we do. What we do, in many ways, is based on, well, what's our habit of what we do? Mm-hmm. So it all does relate in a way I really like. He says, new identities require new evidence. It's a simple 2-step process. 1, decide the type of person you want to be. And 2, prove it to yourself with small wins.
Wow.
So what were some of the quotes or things that you continued to think about this book?
Well, I think the small steps, I really like that. And I don't have any master plan, but just the one small change once in a while.
Yeah, right.
Like I got up this morning, I set my alarm a little earlier because it's Sunday. And I thought, I'm going to shadow that person on the
IT team.
On the IT team, even though I didn't get my training because their family was sick.
Right.
I said, I haven't been invited, but I'm going to show up early and see if I can shadow somebody. And I learned a lot, and I think it's doable, but it's much more intensive than I thought. I mean, there's cameras I have to move. It's not to sit beside the screen and deciding to click on something like an ATM to decide what somebody's going to see at home. It's a little bit more complex than that.
Okay.
But I figure I can figure this out. Mm-hmm. Like those small things of, okay, here's my goal. Now I'm going to make one small change. That change of let's get up early was that synergy. So while you were working on a master plan, I was just trying to figure out, let's get up 15 minutes early and get out of the house and let something happen. So one of the things that I think is key, like with the big picture of this whole thing, and I'm going to quote him, goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. It is easy to get bogged down trying to find the optimal plan for change. Mm-hmm. And so I like that because if you're going to sit around and come up with it, well, you sat around and came up with it. Most people, I think that's great, but I don't know. I think most people are more haphazard, like maybe I just set my alarm for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's enough. And that was enough.
Yeah.
And now I can't say I'm halfway trained, but I am scads more trained than I was at 8:00 this morning. And then people may change their identity regarding me, because if I say I'm not tech savvy and people know I'm one of those geeks at the back of the church that run the line, I might not be able to get away with saying that.
And maybe even more important, it changes your self-identity.
Right. It changes my self-identity because I may not say that negative thing about myself. Uh-huh. So I decided that one of those things was that kind of helped me to overcome I'm not tech savvy is I can learn to do things that I don't know how to do now.
That's good.
I can be a learner. I have to change my mindset. And I like what he says about the negative things that we say to ourselves, and we have to make those positive.
I love it. You're incorporating his suggestions. You mentioned last time through being ready for Red Cross emergencies, how you're doing that. And now deciding, look, today's the day I am going to go shadow. If nothing else, I'm going to start learning this since the training didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Those are great ways of doing that. I think sometimes people think that having habits and sticking to them and reaching goals takes a lot of discipline. And near the end of the book, I like what he says. He says, when scientists analyze people who appear to have tremendous self-control, it turns out these individuals aren't all that different from those who are struggling. Instead, disciplined, in quotes, disciplined people are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower and self-control. In other words, they spend less time in tempting situations.
I guess I like that he recognizes that it really isn't willpower, but they have figured out a way of structuring it that has made it easier for them to do.
He doesn't use this example, but for me, it makes me think, nobody says to you, wow, you have such self-discipline. You brush your teeth twice a day. It's like, it's not really discipline. I just do it. It's a habit. So I think his idea is if you can just make these small changes, things that you do, that can really help you reach your goal.
Right. And it doesn't take so much mental activity either.
Right.
When I was trying to figure out how do I run my camera, right? And I have to really think about, okay, my hand is here. I see how the camera is being moved. Once I get the muscle memory down on that and the routine and the practice, it's going to be more fluid and it's going to be easier and it won't be as taxing, so there's that whole thing of practice and routine that then make it easier. And then that makes it more attainable. And again, it's that synergy of just that one small step. Let me put my hand on the camera to see how it moves around. How hard do I have to do it's pretty sensitive. I don't have to tweak it too much. Like it's going to be hard when I first start.
Right.
That it become a part of who you are. And that's the whole identity and everything else that he gets into. So it's exciting.
Now, a very small example of that is my hairstylist gave me a different way to style my hair that required me using a round brush in a certain way. I tried that and I thought, oh my goodness, this is so awkward. But I kept doing it. And it dawned on me this very morning as I was styling my hair, it's now second nature to me. I'm not even thinking about it. And I can use my round brush in the way that she showed me how to do it.
That's a great example.
Well, I think this was a fun book. We got some feedback online of people saying that they had read the book and they enjoyed it. I'd be interested to hear from anyone who has incorporated any specific aspects of his system. Let us know.
Yeah. And Nancy, I'd be happy to hear too about how you're making out with your goals.
Yeah.
I think, again, this is a book that's going to stay with me for a long time. I find that I have even mentioned this book to other people, even today. Oh, well, I read this book and it says to do this, you should make it enjoyable or have a memory thing to help you to remember to do it or whatever. That these are just really great tidbits for life, really.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Next time, we're continuing in this vein a little bit in terms of adaptability and learning and curiosity. But this is a totally different kind of book. Our book for February is Life Lessons from a Parasite by John Janevi Jr. John is one of the world's preeminent experts on parasites. And in this book, he reveals what humans can learn from parasites, the world's most misunderstood animals. These are the lice, the tapeworms, the flukes, and the maggots that eat a lizard from the inside. He then explains how their lessons help us negotiate our own complicated world.
And there's a big parasite on the cover, just to really creep you out. It's a little scary, but yeah, it's an interesting book. I started to read it. Lots of dissecting going on in this book. It occurred to me that I have to have a solid stomach when I open my Kindle to read this book. I have to be in a good mindset. Whew.
Well, everyone, thanks for listening. Our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of every month.
See you next time, Linny.
See ya.